welcome again here to Wild&Wingless. We're here with episode 2, and I've got on the mic here with me tonight. It's going to be Andrew Seery, the man that comes from Young. Not many nicknames for Seery except for his race car, which is called the Limo because it's so big, the NX9. But Andrew Seery, thanks for joining me tonight. Mate, can you give me a bit of a background story on how you got into the sport and where you've been?
Got into the sport due to my neighbour, as into wingless. He bought one and was riding around the paddock. Him and his brother and dad ended up with one, and so I ended up crying for them. At the time, I was heavily into motocross with the kids and so on, and I'd been doing that for like 15 years. Prior to that, I had a drag car for a few years, and then when the kids got old enough, they wanted to go motocross racing, so all dads do sell their shit to take the kids racing. Prior to that, I'd been involved with Speedway when I lived in Goulburn, which was back when I was in teens and growing up. My father raced Speedway and was a national New South Wales champion and so on through sedans, and had a NASCAR for 4 or 5 years. We raced down at Calder, Adelaide, etc., which was a great time. It's a shame it never kicked off in Sydney because it would have went gangbusters. And opportunities there that I should have took when I was a 16-year-old kid. I've been asked to go to the States and whatever to crew for Sterling Marlin's team and be a wheelman for them and stuff. But as for wingless, always dreamt of racing a 410 sprint car. But as 99% of everyone else in the world, can't afford to do one. So as I said, my neighbour Chris McInerney had one. I started doing a bit of crewing for him. As he sort of stepped out and went to a 410, I ended up buying a car and modified it to suit myself. Tried all the NASCAR setups, methods, and all sorts of radical shit to try and beat everyone in the first year out, as everyone does. And after a couple of years of bashing my head against the wall and blowing multiple engines up from stupid tunes and all that sort of stuff, I ended up just going back to the basics and been doing that since.
Yeah, nice. So how long have you been racing wingless for now?
I was only looking through some photos for you, and I think my first year was 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Playing yellow Big Bird car.
I have a feeling we may have started at the same time. Yes, I do recall. You sent me through a photograph, and I instantly remembered the 117 with the white Ranger towing it. Yeah, I remember that.
That was first race meeting we went to.
Yeah, where was that?
Parramatta.
Parramatta. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Who? But
and
out of curiosity, who'd you pit next to on your first night?
Shit, that was that long ago. I think Chris was still racing then,
right?
And his brother Scott and Terry, their dad. And I think they were all still racing at that time. So I sort of went with them.
So you're neighbours with Chris McInerney?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means you're obviously close to Jackson Delamont. He must be not too far away from you.
He's about, as the crow flies, probably 800 metres.
Jeez.
Over the hill, across the pasture showground.
Jackson's
Young's not really big town.
He's very lucky that I don't live 800 metres from him because he knows he wouldn't get any sleep. But yeah, okay, fair enough. No, that's good. So, all right. So you've raced around this year, the season past. You got actually, was it last season? You got driver's driver. That's a pretty good accolade to receive from your club from New South Wales.
Yeah, it was I even got a bit emotional on that. Actually, it's a very proud moment.
Throwing yourself under the bus.
Yeah, well, I'm proud to receive that because that's like to be given that from your club drivers is a big accolade. Like it's something to be proud of. Like to get the respect of the other drivers. To receive that, it's not a easily given out trophy. Like even this year, a lot of people sort of had, because there wasn't that many drivers racing this year in New South Wales. Like I think in all we had 46 or something, where most years were sort of over the 100. So it's sort of hard to pick. There's a lot of good people out there, and there's been a lot of good people step up this year to help out around the countryside, especially up in the northern rivers, like Ray Eggins and guys like that sort of stepped up to take the series up there and so on and help out. So that was a tough one, and I'm probably humbled more than anything to receive that, because I know there's a lot of good names on that over the time it's been going. So yeah, I'm very proud of that achievement.
Yeah, no, definitely good. And one good thing about you too is the fact you travel. You travel. Like you and Mark Blyton, I think, are the most travelled New South Wales drivers we have. You guys will go north, you go south, you go west. Like you guys go everywhere. Roughly, do you know how many Ks you knocked up this season?
This year was a bit poor effort. I think we only did I only did like 23,000 Ks. I
Okay,
think last season I did 37.
37,000.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sort of lucky the job I've got. I work at a mine and we only do 4 12-hour days, so I have most Fridays off or we do overtime. So I bar off and travel on that Friday. So as you all know, 90% of the time I'm by myself or with my wife. Troy Roberts from Goulburn comes with me if I'm going through that way, like going north or whatever, to give me a hand. But most of the time it's by myself. So I had a Ranger and was towing an open trailer, then went to an enclosed trailer and was still swagging and doing stuff. And the missus got a work car, and I said, well, I'm going to trade the Ranger in and buy a motorhome so we can travel away and have a shower and a toilet and a bed and a fridge and best thing ever.
Yep.
As you know, you have one.
Yep.
Just makes life on the road so easy. You can pull up in a truck stop and get into a nice bed, turn the diesel heater on or the air conditioning, and get a good. Even if you only get 2 or 3 hours sleep, you're good to go for
Best
the
sleep.
next thing.
Yeah.
And being here in Young, even Blighto Dubbo, was north of us. So I'm only 2.5 hours to Albury. So Melbourne's probably 6 hours, sort of thing, in a car. In the motorhome, you're probably 7 because you're only allowed to do 100. Even though she rocks along pretty well with back areas where there's no speed spot to spot cameras. Yeah, we did a fair bit in Victoria this year due to the fact that Eastern Creek wasn't running, which was a bit of a bummer for the New South Wales series because we ended up with 7 rounds of actual point score rounds. And we had 4 or 5 other meetings like club shows and stuff on, and we raced. I think I raced 4 or 5 times at Lismore this year.
Wow.
Went to Toowoomba. I was going to go to Gladstone, but it clashed with the Chili Nationals at Lismore. So that's a bit of a bad thing, but I think they've sorted that for the next year. Did a fair bit down in Victoria at the start of the season.
No,
Like race,
you ran the SummerSlam, didn't you?
yeah,
What
yeah.
do you think about that as a whole for a series for the sport? Is it something that you think? I mean, I believe it's been. That's not the first season they've had it, is it?
No, they've had it. I went back 2019. It might have been the second year I raced
Yep.
with the open trailer and my wife and daughter as a crew. And we swagged at the tracks and went for 3 days without a shower and all sorts of stuff. And I wasn't very popular.
Yeah,
Um,
they're the days, but they're the nights. They're the
yeah,
fun
I
times.
think you might have been down there racing the Legend car at the time. That was Mildura, uh, Rush, Renmark, and then Speedway City at Adelaide. So it was good to race there before it shut down.
Yeah,
Maybe it
yeah.
was
Oh,
Speedway
okay.
City, I
So the
think.
series went over that way. That's okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
No, because I know, and I'm sure people are going to be going, "You're an idiot, Andrew." You know, the SummerSlam's been running for however long. But just me knowing about it, I think I've known about it for a couple of years. But it amazed me how much hype it had around, especially the year that just went. Like there was a lot more hype, and I think that was from the year before. Like it's like every year they sort of kick it up a year with their promoting it, and they offer some pretty cool trophies. I mean, me and Blight are very similar. We like cool stuff like that, trophies. You know what I mean? Like just things to make it go wow. But going down there, I mean, you've got a good rapport with a lot of the drivers and teams down there. You obviously went back down there again, and you had some reasonable success, didn't you?
Yeah, every time I go to the SummerSlam, like that time of year, it's 43, 40 degrees, 43, 45 in Young, and you head down there, and the first night at Mount Gay, 7 degrees when we got down there, and I got a cold and I was crooked the whole time, and
Oh no.
I had a shit run. Still raced all right, but you know what it's like when you're crook and whatever else. But I like it. There's good competition down there. They all race hard. I think I've improved over the last 3 or 4 years from racing against the Victorians and the Queenslanders, etc., because you're not racing the same people every weekend.
Yeah.
I think that benefits, especially the newer drivers. For example, like in our club series, the guys that just race at Sydney Eastern Creek or Parramatta back in the day, that when the guys that are newbies that come out and race the country tracks where it's not the same every week, excel. And I think that's really helped me, like traveling away and doing the miles. Like I said, from here to Warrnambool's about 9 hours for me. So that's not too far. Like you can do that in a day pretty
That's not
comfortable.
too far. No.
Get back to Melbourne or somewhere that night and then drive home the next day and be home and wash your car before it gets dark. So
Jeez.
that's all right. Like Lismore, that way is about 12 hours, but I like the SummerSlam. It's hard down there because a lot of their tracks are capping their numbers at like 60
Well,
for events
now
and stuff.
that's glad you brought that up. Now, was that capped because it was the fact that it just simply got too popular? I know you can't put 1,000,001 cars in a pit area because I don't
Yeah,
recall it being capped. And then was it last season they full capped it like,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
upset a lot
Uh,
of people.
I think they've incorporated with the Formula 500s,
Yep,
and I think it was their Vic title or something like that, and it was 50 or 60 of them as well,
yep,
plus the junior 500s, and they had like at Simpson, they had the rods or whatever they call themselves that go backwards. They had them as well. So there was the pits were chockers. Like you basically at Simpson they made the right call. They said, look, the pits are too full. All the wingless have to pull up in the hot zone, and they had bikes and cars and that pushed us back through the pits, basically back to where your trailer was.
yep,
Um, because they were doing their duty of care, which everyone needs to do, and it worked out good. Like you pulled up there and you're back at your pits, not probably a minute later than what you would have been if you
yep,
drove through without any incident.
yeah.
So that's good.
One thing that I remember when that happened, people were sort of people on both sides of the fence about good, bad, indifferent. To me, what it did, it made if it makes an event exclusive, it sort of can make sure we bring the right people there. When I say right people, I mean the best of the best. You know what I mean? We get in there, or it's just I can't remember how they went, and but I saw it got capped. I think me and we were up racing Toowoomba that weekend for the King of the Ring or something like that. It's like we got a lot of wrestling themed race meetings on, which were pretty cool over the summer. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's on my bucket list. I'd like to at least attempt it. I think it'll be fun.
The killer is that time of year. There's so much racing on.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go the previous year. I did the year before that and the one before that. But the year where they capped it, I think they capped it at 40 cars or whatever, and it was Victorians only,
Yep.
just because they had very limited racing. And I understand that. Like we
Yeah.
still raced most of the year up here.
Yep.
Well, they tried to give their races that had only done 2 or 3 meetings for the year a chance to get them runs in. And that frustrated a lot of people that wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
But in hindsight, it didn't really hurt their numbers for the next year, and people are going to get down there and race because their track's always well prepped and looked after. And the year I never went down there, I went north, and I think we ran Lismore, Archerfield, Toowoomba, back to Lismore, and then back to Goulburn, all in like 7 in a week, basically.
Jeez.
So we got as much racing in as we
Yeah.
would have anyway. And we had to come back to Goulburn. So, man, the missus sort of had a week and a half away, and
How does
the
Roseanne
nomads,
handle that?
nomads.
How does she handle that?
Oh, she likes it.
She's good.
She yeah, she enjoy. Oh, well, I even let her drive the motorhome occasionally now, like
There we
down the
go.
road. tail on. It's
Yep.
got to be on the highway and where I can be very strict in the mirrors because it's 19 metres long and you can't see much past the back of the motorhome as in lengthwise. And so she's happy to crap down the highway at 100 k's, and if I feel a bit tired or whatever. But yourself and the missus driving, you never shut both eyes fully.
I don't know. Mine might be watching, so of course I do.
Oh no, she'll see this. I'll get a ripping.
Yeah, no, you dug it yourself. Sorry, you mentioned Lismore. So if we just had to touch on Lismore, what did you feel about the Australian title this year?
I think it could have been no fault to anyone's, just the weather gods. I think if they never had all that rain and like I'll be the first to admit, if there's a track needs help, I'll be the first one to put my hand up, jump on a grader, jump on a tractor, whatever needs happening. I'll do whatever. I will pack for 60 laps if I go to, as Blighty has done as well, to try and bring a track in. I think if the track was just, they would probably overcautious a bit with the track for the warm-ups. And then once they took the layer off it, once it had gone hard, the moisture come back and it was just hooked up. And I like a hooked up track because my car works good on that. And probably more over a slick track. But I've had good success up there. Like the last half a dozen meetings or more that have been up there, I've been either top qualifier or off the front row at least. And there's some pretty stout competition up there. Yeah. Don't worry. It's not just Jacob Jolly. There's some fast guys running around up there.
Look at Ray Eggins.
Yeah, he's no friggin' slouch on the wheel for an old, bald, fat bloke. And it's a challenging track. It's the same as Grafton. I like Grafton track as well.
Yep.
Because it's like a 50-cent coin and it's a driver's track, and that's what Lismore is. If you can drive your car to 100% for that 25 or 50 laps, whatever, keep going forward. It's very hard on the body, and you're hanging off to the right hand side, and basically you don't back off.
Yeah.
So you're flat the whole way, and it does get rough, and you got to run different lines, and it's a real challenging track, and I like it because it's not just a guy with the biggest budget and the flashiest car and the newest tyres that wins up there. Like I run second-hand tyres all year that I get off Jackson and whoever else I can buy them off at the time. I think since I've been racing, I've bought 4 brand new tyres. And one of them was a new WAV to run up at the title, and I wore it out in the first 2 heats, even though it was hooked up. So I went back to my old second-hand SD38s, the good old Trustables and MC2s, and run them all the time.
I see. Yeah, I remember going up there, and I took some discussions with yourself, Blighto, I think Jason Davis, I had him on the phone, had a whole bunch of people on the phone. What's it going to be like up there and all this? I think that would have to be one of the most well-promoted, well-ran Australian titles I've ever seen. Mick and Kim just did a fantastic job. Just that the track itself was a bit how you going, but I saw the likes of yourself and even Pete Granger on the tractors there trying to help bring it back in, and you guys did a ripper job trying to do that. I thought it was fantastic. The reason why I was sort of talking about that was because also I know they had another very successful race meeting this year, and that was the Chile Nationals that you also went to. I was just watching that highlight video earlier today of that 50 lapper. Not only do you get around, but you get around the track for many, many laps. You're a fan of the 50 lappers?
I love them. Yeah? The fat men come on at the end.
Do you think? Because I remember back in the day we used to have forgive me if I'm wrong. We used to have like a 50 or 60 at Murray Bridge. We had a 50 at Mildura. We had a 50 at Parramatta. We had a 50 at Archerfield. I'm sure there was a 50 at Simpson or something like that. Somewhere down south they had a 50 as well. And then we had the 100 lapper or whatever it was at Lismore. We used to have
Lismore used to have 100 lappers every year.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of it, but now it feels like they're sort of dwindling down. Do you think perhaps we need to bring them back into the fold? Would you like to see more 50 lappers or?
I would. I think it's a case of people like me, we don't go out there and win every race meeting we do it because we love racing. So the more laps you can do, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat, the more laps you can do at a meeting whether it's a 2-day show or a 50 lapper, getting an extra laps in gives you a bit more value for money. I know that there's talk up there. Ray Eggins is trying to organise with the Queensland guys. They got a few on the go up there, like the Chile Nationals is on again next year. That's a great event.
That's going to get bigger and bigger. I see it. Yeah.
It's unreal atmosphere, unbelievable atmosphere.
The stories I hear, even the after parties, were fantastic. Like
and they run
driving AM cars, hanging out at like the fire pits of like legend car guys with wingless guys there, and sedan. It's just awesome.
Everyone's
central.
It gets on it. There's fire pits going. There's big pots of chili going. There's barbecues, and the racing's over by 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest. So you can stand around and have a few drinks and be in bed. Well, the place was basically quiet besides the Claxton Hat Boys at midnight both nights. It was, and people had their 3 or 4 hours talk. Where if a meeting finishes at 11 o'clock, that's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, then everyone's stuffed.
And the Claxton Hat Boys, they're the ones still partying on. They got a good party scheme going on there. So
it's a good atmosphere, and I know this year, what's it called? There's some 50 lappers going on. Grafton's putting on a 50 lapper. They got a couple of rounds of the Northern Rivers Wingless rounds. That's a bit of a tongue twister. This year in amongst their schedule, they're going to have a 50 lapper. Then I think there's one at Toowoomba, one at Bundaberg, which is a 2-day show, one at Kingaroy, which is a 2-day show, and one at Gladstone, which could be a 2-day show, and then the Chile National. So it's 5 or 6 50 lappers up that way, which being 2-day shows is people can sort of take the Friday off or the Monday or whatever and make their travel and have some good races. Like man, Blido wanted to go to Oakland this year, but it clashed with a couple of things. I like racing the tracks where I haven't been to, and then you can race on that, like run around the outside of people. And I hate being a gutter runner. I hate it. I'd rather go to the top and go backwards, and enjoy myself, ripping the lip or frigging whatever you like to call it.
No, same. No point in staying follow the leader, man. Get up there and give it a crack.
No. If you're not in that top 3 and waiting for someone to make a mistake for the whole race, I'll run around there, and if no one's moving, I'll say stuff, and I'll just go to the top and have fun. I'm not out there in championships.
A hot topic at the moment is tyres. What do you feel about moving forward? So you talk. So for those who don't know, we did obviously the Australian title. We did practice. I know we burnt off 2 sets of rears in the hot laps. But after that, our tyre wear was fantastic. Our tyre wear was amazing. We came back to we did the day show at Eastern Creek, the new Eastern Creek that opened, Sydney International Speedway, Gary Wilmington's track. It was a Sunday day. We burnt off. I think, thank God, we got caught up in a wreck that cost us the front end. But I think we only burnt up like maybe two rears. But I know like guys who went a lot more than that. What do you think about the whole tyre situation moving forward for this season coming? Are you concerned, or you're not too worried about it? You think they'll just freak of natures? Because the rest of the season was great for tyres for us. It was just 2 meetings.
Yeah, I think Wingless, I know, talking with the guys throughout the Wingless community and whatever, and because I get around and crew for Jackson a bit and talking to the sprint car guys, I know it was a big talk with the sprint car guys at Mildura when they ran around down there. They were chewing through the tyres, and the Hoosier truck showed up full of tyres and sold every tyre they had, but they were all WAVs that were 25 Duro and stuff. And everyone was going, like, guys like the big name guys, I won't say who they were going to see the lesser name guys buying secondhand old WAVs and American races so they would make the A-main, finish the A-main. So they come up there, and I've talked with multiple people about it. I think obviously tyre manufacturers are getting what they can get. During COVID, obviously there was issues with all that sort of stuff. I know Mark Cooper at American Race, he's very proactive in trying to get tyres that will do the laps and are the right price for the amount of laps they're doing. I know that Jock Goodyear won, qualified, and ran on American Race when he went at Eastern Creek that last meeting, which was SD38, an experimental tyre. And Jackson was running one, and I got that tyre off him, and I ran that at Lismore for the 50 lapper, and it's still
right.
over.
Okay.
So American Racers trying to do the right thing by the races. Hoosier obviously are, like, they have tyres that will work. Troy Carey just put up a post because he's over there running wingless in the States at the moment in Indiana. If you check out his Facebook page, it's a pretty big explanation he does on there on a video.
Okay.
Basic thing, he bought a second-hand tyre off one of the fast guys, Seery, I think it was, which they run I think it's a medium, 16-inch wide right rear. Over there, I was over there 2 years ago, and over there, right rear was $230, and the left rear was $250. Fronts were $130. Yes, Australian dollars different, and freight and everything else, understandable. But the right rears they're running on over there, Troy bought that tyre second-hand, which had run a full A main on a slick track, still had the cross hatches in it, hadn't been grooved or anything. He ran it for 2 full nights, never took it off the car, which was hot laps qualifying, a heat, and a C main and a B main on both the nights, and it's still got the cross hatches in the tyre. The left rear ran for 2 nights, which is a different compound to what we run out here. He's still got the nipples on it after 2 nights, and you know what American tracks go like, they're slick from top to bottom.
Yeah, right. So he actually ran, even though he didn't run the A main, he still ran the C and the B. Yeah. And he still got cross hatches on a second-hand tyre that ran an 84 on 2 nights he did with it.
And you got to remember,
with a 410, yeah.
With a 410, that's right. And his 410's a good 830, 850 horsepower. I before the Aussie title, I actually bought a brand new WAV, knowing that they were a softer tyre, whether that's any fault of anyone's or they've just bought these tyres and they've come in at that compound. I don't think anyone necessarily went out to make a soft compound to bring to Australia for that purpose, but it's just turned out that way. And I ran it in that first lot of hot laps, and it basically ripped the rubber off the tyre.
That's suicide. But I suppose no one knew. No one knew it was going to do that. No one knew.
No, well, that track normally doesn't wear the nipples off a new tyre or not. Like it doesn't wear tyres out normally.
Ripped them.
So I think that Australia wide needs a different compound, like across the board. The sprint car guys want it. Everyone wants it. It's just running out the tyres that the tyre producers, tyre sales people have now. They're giving them time to bring more stock in of a acceptable thing, and they're working with sprint cars, SCCA, etc. Wingless don't really have much of a say in it because we put a motion in to try and get a harder tyre for the wingless, which we were hoping that the sprint cars would adopt the same sort of tyre. But that nothing will happen till the end of next year, so we're sort of stuck with that. So realistically, it's hurting the wingless because there's no second-hand tyres come through for guys like myself to pay $100 or $200 for a second-hand tyre off guys that throw them in the bin anyway. And even the big teams are hurting. Like, they're going through 3 right rears a night, a couple of left rears in the front. And everyone's blaming the tracks, and it's not the tracks. The tracks are the same dirt. They're doing the same stuff they've done forever.
The tracks being blamed, but
and the tracks are copping it, and it's not the tracks.
No,
the tracks are doing everything they can.
So if I go by, I can only go by personal experience. We ran at we could run a new tyre at, say, Canberra, and that new tyre we could take to Goulburn the following week, and run all night there, and then we could even take it to another country. Well, we're going to call them country shakes. They're not at Sydney,
Yeah.
And we could run majority there. And even then, I'd start thinking about introducing another maybe rear for the feature, depending on how the feature was going to go. If it's going to go slick, I'll just let
Yeah.
it burn
Chuck
off.
us in.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not too sure about. The only thing that got me stumped was with Eastern Creek. So when Eastern Creek last season operated till now, obviously you went through the phase of Eastern Creek International Speedway to Sydney International Speedway, the Kellys to the Wilmingtons. The track changed, that sort of stuff. We saw a different track curator. Went from John to I think Marty Perovich is the curator
Yeah.
now, and he's been very vocal on social media about how he's been doing that track, like making sure it's almost like Marty was hell bent on making that go to the wall. You know what I mean? Like, and he did that. He did it. Hats off to him. All right, he had a few runs. One night was a bit, how you going? But yeah, he sort of was working on that and perfecting his art, where he got it to the wall, and he got it. I'd say we were almost getting an American spec track because it was very hard packed. It was a bit dusty, and all the
Yeah.
rest wasn't heavy.
Yeah.
I guess, and that's where we all burnt off our tires on that Sunday day show. But before that, what did you think between the two? Because we're talking they screened it and whatnot, but it's virtually the same track. They changed the characteristics of the straights, being a little bit longer, narrowed up the corners. Was that right? Did you notice anything
Yeah.
in the
They
driving of it?
they they elongated the track, so they moved the actual center of the corner and where you turn into the corner off the straight. They moved that. I think it was 5 meters up track, sort of along that made the straights longer,
Yep.
made the corners a little bit tighter, and then reshaped the center of the corner so it was flatter on the bottom. I think it was 6 or 8 meters, and then went banked up the track. Pretty much sort of same sort of thing without the D shape in it as Dubbo is. Like Dubbo is a really good track to race on, and Wingless, like I did it at that last meeting, ran the wall. Main, and then you got really past on the last couple of laps because the bottom started to take rubber because the sprint cars had been there prior. It But the shape is a bit better for wingless because
Mm-hmm.
how the track used to be, you drove it like a circle, you just held it flat,
Wider.
and everyone was the same speed. There was no, the only difference that made a difference at Eastern Creek when it was under the Kellys was they had to have it as a mud hole to start with. And those who have the kahunas to hold it on in the mud and send it blitzed everyone, and everyone else sort of was wobbling and flipping and carrying on. I think Marty's on the right track with what he's doing. They've learned a lot. They were Gary Wilmington was actually at Lismore for the Chile Nationals because Braden was running a legend car,
Yep.
and he was looking at their dirt, how they prepped the track, and what they did at the track. Like they concentrate on that middle section of the track and try to leave the bottom slick to get you off the bottom. And it's really only wingless that run the bottom at Lismore. Everyone else runs mid to the top. Like when the dirt mods are there, they drag the wall the whole way around, and the fast guys in 410s. Where Sydney's one of them tracks where wingless haven't got the horsepower to run the wall there.
No.
Like unless it's either glass are slick on the bottom and you've got to be on the banking, or muddy on the bottom. Running that bottom is the fastest way around there for a wingless, and that's been proved every race we've ever had there. Whoever runs in that gut, especially in A main, you're going to win, and no one's going to pass you with any sort of ease unless you make a mistake, due to the fact that the speed difference. If you go a set of gears high speed, the disadvantage you have off a restart could be 3 or 4 positions. Like that acceleration off the restart's the only place where you can make passes. And where the difference between Eastern Creek and Parramatta, I feel, is Parramatta was still 2 straights and 2 corners, but there was drive on the whole track. Like when Parramatta it would go slick because it was a different clay. It was a pottery type clay. Like it was always slimy, that real sticky, slimy clay. When it went slick, it was slick to the top. Like you could run right on the top cushion there. Even in wingless, the speed difference between you had to slow down so much to get into the bottom compared to holding it flat around the top, made it pretty much the same. Like you could run the top and pass cars, or you could get in the bottom if you got it right, and you could pass the guys on the top. So pretty even. I think that's what Marty's trying to do now. He's trying to get it back to that two straight lines and two tighter corners. So you to run the bottom, you've got to slow down to get around the bottom
get off
and
the
get out of
gas.
the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think he's on the right track there. I think it's just a matter of getting their water to dirt ratio right.
Yep.
And running the day shows tough in any situation. And the sun there is really bad. Like when you come 3 and 4, you just cannot see. And I know we moved the motion, which I'm an advocate for, of having the sun visor on your right hand side, being larger with a smaller gap with Zeus clips in it. So if there's an accident, someone's only got to have a screwdriver and take the panel off to access you to get to your seatbelt or whatever else. But that track there, even our head Flap Jim Ornowitz, we've all gone, we can't see coming through that corner. Even when you've got the sun visor in front of you, the sun's at that point up here, and it's just blinding in that day show, or even in summertime in that late afternoon as the sun's just going down on the stand. Wing cars don't have the issue because they obviously have their great aerofoil out there that flaps around like a duckbill platypus, and it blocks them from the sun. So yes, they probably get that bit of sun going into 3, but they're not like a wingless, and it's really hard because you cannot see anything. Like it's just blind. So that's why we were pushing for the visor, bit larger visor, and like some of the tracks we race on in country tracks, like you personally have, and I've gone through 2 helmets in 2 years, and you're paying $2,000 for a helmet, and then the stone chips and chunks out of them from rocks and debris from cars and whatever else. Extra bit of protection there saves you so much money. And we want to make it modern too. We don't want to look like shit boxes from the city.
We don't. And I feel this is a touchy subject. I always get in trouble when I go through inspection. But I feel that people don't look at it in the same eyes as others. And I'm probably going to get in trouble by saying this, but I feel that sometimes when they make a rule and it's going to be like this, it's because they've had an inkling before someone's tried to use an advantage or something like that. It's not after that at all. It's simply, I'm just looking at how can we prevent, as you said, we go to these country tracks, mate, even Eastern Creek, Creek, they had massive rocks coming through. We tore up a new hood at Eastern Creek just because a rock came through it and just destroyed it into the engine.
I had half a house brick jammed into the side of my head at in the headrest at Parramatta just after they resurfaced it. Like half a house brick.
Was that like 2017?
No, it was probably the year that it closed.
Oh, okay. I remember 2017 we got some crazy stuff. But it comes through. So I thought by putting this stuff in, he can see, he can climb out, he can do everything. I've got a big sun visor. It instantly cut down on the usage of tear-offs. That was what I was surprised the most. I'm going to Max's to go buy more tear-offs, and I'm putting them in the motorhome because he uses the cupboard with the mirror is where he gets his helmet ready. It's his helmet station in the motorhome there, and he's getting it all ready. And I'm just seeing all these stacks piling up. I think, what's going on here? And he's not going through as many. So we're limiting the amount of obviously crap getting onto his visor. Therefore, he's seeing stuff better. I thought it was a better thing all in all because, as you said, took the rocks away from hitting his head. The rulebook says otherwise, and until I can get a proper argument, what can I do? But thankfully, we got around that by using tape. And it's funny because sometimes he does come in after I tape up his car, and the tape's shredded.
Yeah.
And I try to say to him, like, anyway, I don't. I could get in so much trouble for talking more about it. But yeah, so with Eastern Creek, what we're trying to talk about with Marty doing his job there, I think he's doing a good job. You think he's doing a good job? I'm hoping the tyre wear won't be such an issue come like this season. It'll be interesting to see.
I think they've got a few new ideas. They've tried some stuff, and some stuff has worked. Like the reshaping of the track has slowed wingless down 2 seconds a lap, basically.
Yeah, right.
So that's a big difference. Even though you're still flat and you're using the same gearing and everything else, but to get into that bottom, you got to get off it to stay down there.
Yep.
Like that last race you ran in the day show, if you didn't get onto that bottom right, you just slid up and 4 cars past you.
Yeah.
There was no coming back. Once you got off onto the slick, you were gone. And a lot of people tried to mid track. Like I did run the mid track for the first 5 laps, and I went from, I think I started 14th, and I got to like 5th.
Yeah, right.
And then I knew cars were in the inside of me pretty quick, so I just got into the bottom where I could, and I had a great battle with Blido and Brad McCarthy, and it was good racing, even though it was pretty one line. Like we were sort of right on the edge of being at that point. And that's a lot. I just like going out and racing with people, wheel to wheel and clean, and having fun on a track you can maneuver and pass on. Like
That's the key.
the best track in Australia at the moment for that would be Mildura, I think.
Yep.
I think the Aussie title at Mildura is going to be a barnstormer. Like it's going to be
I think
unbelievable.
I'm a massive fan of Mildura. We've had we've gone there in Legend Cars, Wingless, all the rest.
You've gone there and been shit, and then the next time you go there, you win. Not South.
See, a good buddy of ours, he sort of gave us. He said, "Oh, the new surface is going to do this, this, this." So we're thinking, "Oh, okay, we know how it's going to act," and it went the complete opposite. Then when we went back down there the second time, we went there on an Easter, and he did really well till the wheel decided to blow up because he hit the wall too hard. But it was really fun. The thing is, it's that track we had at the state title was not the track that we went down at the start of the season and drove.
Yeah.
Wasn't the track. Now, was it because we had more cars? I'm just trying to think what else was on the cards that week. No, it wasn't really that many people on the cards that weekend for the South Australian state titles, like a sedan class. Forgive me for not remembering. Yeah. But I do recall we went down there one night and they had the 360s down there. And these guys went from guarded to the wall, slick. Yeah. We're talking black. There's tyre smoke. I remember Paul Solomon was like leading with a Dirt X, and it was going to be one of the first Dirt X wins, I think, or something like that. And the poor bugger blew it up, blew the tyre up. But the next night we came back and we thought, this is going to be terrible. They've gone rubber down, blah, blah, blah. And we were running the wall. And it was awesome. Yeah. There was awesome slide jobs happening. I think Ryan Furler was there. He was giving us a good run for our money. Tyson Martin, that sort of stuff. It was a really good meeting. But it's just, what track do you get? I don't know. I reckon definitely Mildura are going to put on a massive effort to give us a spectacle. After what Lismore did, because they made it all about wingless, you know what I mean? Whereas Archfield, they did a good show, but they still had
sprint cars.
Yeah. I'm hoping Lismore's going to, Mildura is going to be all about the wingless deal. I mean, that's probably my last question I got for you tonight is about that. But with the wingless as a whole, I think we've moved away from the stigma of a $200 wrecker motor and a cheap old chassis that, Jackson Delamont destroyed somewhere. You know what I mean? Back in the day, that's how the wingless were made, just all this junk. And now we've got these cars that are on the track that, honest to God, you could put a 410 in there tomorrow in a wing and it will run at the front. Like, we got $50,000 winglesses now. It's incredible.
At least. There's three or four cars in New South Wales this year that have had over 50 grand spent on them.
Yeah. So
and they'll admit that easily.
That's a scary part. You don't have to put too much alcohol in them, and they'll tell you. I guess that's what my question for you is. You've been around for a while. The growth in wingless. Do you see it happening? Do you see the promoting work? Do you see the stuff going where we're going to get those big Australian titles where it's just all wingless? You know what I mean? Like, it's been great. With Claverview, for example, we're putting on a great show. Wade's been involved and making a big hoo-ha. Coming through that curtain at the Australian title at Lismore, that was amazing. But
yeah,
do you see it growing? Do you see it happening more? Do you see it taking off?
I think the thing with wingless is it's still an affordable sport for the average punter. Like, I'm only on a normal wage. I'm not on I don't have business or anything like that. My budget is $500 a week to go racing. So realistically, I can go and run. Yeah, I'm not winning races and I'm not taking home trophies every weekend or anything else, but I can be up there battling with the best of them. And I'm only running stuff that I bought in my first car. Like, I've upgraded a diff and put some better brakes on it. but everything else is stuff that I've had for 5 or 6 years. So Jackson and Michael Delamont help me out heaps. Like if I do a cork ball or something that's flogged out or done something dumb like that, they'll give me a second-hand one or I'll buy one or whatever. They've been a great help. But I think the sport needs to and not stay dormant. I think the engine of the future is a big thing. We know parts are getting scarce for our engines, and that's been an issue for a number of years. Yes, some suppliers have some sets of pistons and some suppliers have different other things. I know there's a push through the AWSR and their Engine of the Future committee to get lists for all the races to say who's got what parts and what discounts and stuff like that they're going to do for Wingless for buying off them, which will come out in the near future. I think we as a Wingless, as a club, as a association, need to not be put down by the bigger tracks and say we're only there to wheel pack, or you just don't pull crowds, or everyone hates the noise of your cars. You hate the noise of our cars. Like I guarantee, and I've spoke to a lot of people in the last 2 years, and if we could get a crate V8 with 350 horsepower, I'd say probably the top 25% of the fields would go to that. But it'd have to be a progressive thing. And it's been talked about by a lot of people, of either a weight brake and a harder right rear tyre for an integrated run with the V6s and so on, until the V6s have run out of parts, or people are still happy to run the V6s. At the end of the day, if there's enough people, you can still run a V8 and a V6 wingless class, like a not so much an A and a B grade, but a progressive system. And I think that's where our sport needs to go. Like we've got enough numbers. The 410s are outpriced themselves for anyone that's got a corporate team behind them. I know, like my next door neighbour, Chris McInerney, he ran for a couple of years, and besides time factor through his business, just the cost just blew out, just absolutely blew out from what he started, and that was only over a couple of years. I think even the 360 LS division, I think they've got some issues with their engine spec rules. Like the LSs come in and everyone was going to run the crate 525s or whatever. Pretty much the same as what late models and dirt mods run, just so that everyone could bring in a one engine package that was usable in a number of classes. I think that's a good idea. 360s cost as much as the 410 to run, maintain,
not practical.
whatever, if not more, because the parts aren't there. And I'm not bagging these classes. I think they're great classes. If I
look at
we're going straight out, but
we're going from a budget motor. You can still buy, as much as people don't say it, but if anyone needs a wing or a VR V6 tomorrow, I can get you one. You know, we're talking $500-600. It's a wrecker. I don't know if it runs, but it's got most of the stuff's all there. You just have to pull it apart. And that's the thing. And I don't know how well you're going to go with 20 grand investment on these motors when people are sinking. Like people are sinking over 10 grand on a V6 now.
Yeah. Well, they've got them for sale for 12.5 grand. Yeah. There's a bare engine, like, and people are charging them these amounts. Like, I can tell you right now today, you can ring up Precision and get a set of VP 40 thou pistons for $112 per set, not per piston, per set. So how are these guys charging?
I guess it comes down to
yes.
I guess it comes down to whose motor it is, but no, fair enough. Well, I was just So do you see the series going to grow big? Like you're going to see Mildura as a bigger Australian title than what we had at Lismore?
I think it'll have more car numbers, and the issue with the car numbers at Lismore was because it was at Lismore, and Lismore's never had a good rap for being a good racing track. It's always been a technical track. I think there was only, I don't know, 10 or 15 or so Victorians come up, a couple of South Australians. There's going to be 60 or 70 Victorians down there without anyone else going there. So they got good numbers down there, and they have good support. They have a good committee, and they're very proactive. Um, I think South Australia has a good number of good quality cars as well. They're
Yep.
probably lacking a few grade cars maybe because they don't have as many tracks. But all in all, the racing across Australia has improved so much. Like the days I started at Parramatta where you're battling at the back of a B or getting to the end of an A, back of the A, it was carnage. Like there was nothing for a B main to have 6 or 7 rollovers and just out of control carnage. Where I think I know myself and Pete Granger and a few others in New South Wales sort of try and coach the newer drivers, and
Yep.
you see people having a hard time with not knowing how to set a car up and so on. And just by giving them some basic tips and getting them sorted with a basic shock package is a big thing. I think as a sport we should be doing that. We should be helping new people into the sport.
Well, I mean, I
Um,
know as far as you're part of the New South Wales Wingless Club committee, sorry, but I know like Marcus, who's the VP. I'd often find him with new drivers, asking what they've got, where. He's not giving you the top setup, but it helps. I remember when we rocked up to
that's it.
our first race, we had it was an American race, a 102 on the right rear, and I had a 94 left rear, and we didn't know any different. I had all these tyres I bought with the car at home. I thought, we'll just see how we go.
Make that on. Should be right.
I didn't know about Stagger. We came from Legend Cars for that bitumen go karts. No idea.
Yeah.
So I think it is good we see that, and I think the initiative that the club's putting forward, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about some sort of tip and help video where if people want to get into the sport, give them a bit of an idea on what to look for based on their body size, whatever it is, to ensure we always meet the rules is a good thing.
Yeah, that's been a big issue. And I had the issue when I bought my first car. I didn't. I knew the base car. I knew they had an engine and 4 wheels. I went and bought a car off some guys, and it was a really clean, good-looking car. It was all when I got it home, found out it was pretty much worn-out garbage. But I raced it for 2 years or more like that, and it still got round. But I had to put a halo on it because my head was like 50 mil above the cage because I'm 6'1", 130 plus kilos. So I'm a big guy and I got a fat ass and it sits me up in the seat. So I'm always high. So I've got to, so I've always got to have to buy a high, tall chassis, wide chassis. So it's hard to get cars for big guys. That's why I ended up with the limo. Someone, a guy in Victoria, had it, said, "Look, perfect car for you."
I heard it was the old 2-seater from Parramatta. They just took out the middle bar and just went, yeah, there we go. He'll fit in that.
Put the steering wheel in the back seat.
There we go. He'll fit. No,
Nearly that long. I think going forward, I think the AWSR and through having a scrutineers meeting every once a month or so is really upping the ante for safety.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a case of coming down on people not being right. It's a case of giving them the right information. Like you sort of progressed on. Vic Wingless is in the process of doing a video to put on the AWSR website, which will explain how to get the right seat, the right dimensions in your seat. Like you said, a lot of big guys with short seats where your head thing's only about here, and instead of being in the right position on your helmet, shoulders are up against the headrests and stuff like that. Like it's a short seat for a tall body driver. That's a big issue. Seatbelt position, just about every car, your daylight, the seatbelts, because people put them on the bar, hop in there, yeah, they feel good.
They don't know any better. Yeah.
They're rubbing, they don't know the right angles. So that's going to be in it. How to measure your chassis to fit you with a seat in there, stuff like that. And natural chassis lengths and whatever that they're wingless. Like they all go around the corner pretty much the same. It doesn't matter if you have a short one, a long one, whatever. They all work. You just got to find what works for you. But safety is a big thing. Like there has been a few guys that have been injured in the last couple of years through minimal head clearance and stuff. So they're trying everything best to educate, and I think that's the way to go around it is educate people and through scrutineering and daylighting, and saying to people, look, you're on the minimum. Next time you buy a car, try and get measure the cage. Oh, it's only a 52-inch high car. Next time, try and get a 54. Give you that extra 2 inches. Like 50 mil is a big thing when you land on the ground. And it's not the slick tracks that hurt, and it's not the concrete that hurts. It's the tracks where the cage goes into the dirt. Like what's he at Dubbo? His cage. We went and checked his car afterwards, and the cage had gone into the clay by that far. Like it bent the top of the seat, actually buckled the back of the seat down. Was that had gone into the dirt that far? So the impact never hurt him. It just pushed him down, etc. It was the actual sick head down into the clay.
I recall seeing an accident like that. I think it might have been at Warrnambool. 2 seasons ago or something like that. It was quite,
Someone got hurt there.
Dug in big, and I thought, man, this is.
Yeah. So there's been a big push on seatbelts and headlights this year.
That's good.
And it's a good thing. Like, we don't want anyone to get hurt. And it's a long process back from an injury like that. Accidents happen. People get hurt. That's racing. If you're not prepared to go out there, pull the helmet on and drive on that track and know what can happen, then wrong sport. You need to go and take up knitting or something. Like,
oh, you might get stabbed.
I might get stabbed there, but you know what I mean. Like, you're signing that indemnity, saying that you're willing to take the risk.
Yep.
But you've got to still go home to your family, and you've still got to go to work on Monday. And that's half the reason why 90% of the time, if I'm not confident in my car or the tracks, it's not working, whatever, I'll back off. Have the position. I don't need to wreck myself and chuck $5,000 worth of parts away for that one position.
Yep.
I mean, I'm here to have fun. And that's what the whole sport should be about. It should be about having fun, having good times, meeting up with mates at the track, high-fiving, mate, great race, that was unreal. And that's what happens in wingless. It's not that snobby, pack up, piss off straight after the race.
No, you've got to drink the beers afterwards, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to promote. I'm trying to, not drinking the beers and driving home.
No, driving home. We've got motorhomes, so we sleep, yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. We might have 20 turkeys at the end of the night.
You're not allowed to leave with alcohol in your esky. Yeah.
Anyway, I think wingless is one of them sports, and there's a lot of people that like racing wingless that have come to wingless for that reason from other divisions. And I think across the board, everyone in wingless needs to adopt that principle. Like, we're racing for a $20 trophy, guys. Like, yes, we have some big dollar events, whatever else, and some titles and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a $20 trophy. We don't need to wreck each other. Go out there and have fun. And if you come off the track with a smile on the face, that's better than trophy any day of the week, I reckon.
Oh, that's a hard one to say. Wait till you get them winners stickers. Yes. I'm still waiting for one of them, but yeah. No, look, hey, Andrew, man, thank you very much for spending the night with us and having a chat. Really appreciate it. I'm giving you an opportunity. Maybe people are still watching. Got any sponsors you want to thank? Because I mean, this sport is very expensive. You do, 29,000 Ks, and it costs money to do that sort of stuff. Give us a shopping list. Go.
Yeah, first thing, I'd like to thank my main sponsor, which is my wife, who always has backed me 100%, whatever I've done, whether it's this, motocross, drag racing, whatever. She's always been there. Best mud cleaner in the game. And she even does tyres and everything now. She's progressed. She's the crew chief.
You're in trouble.
She calls herself. Obviously, Mad Harry Steele, they helped me out so much. And great guys, and they help a lot of people in the sport. You'd be surprised on what they do for the sport. Patterson Brother Funerals have been with me for a long time. They're not coming back on board next year, so I've got a few spots open there. Signs Are Us, Burston's Auto Parts, Young, Rod and the guys down there dug me out astronomically. Weber Racing Industries, he's been a long supporter. Still using the same computer that I started with the first meeting that I got it off. Same computer, never been open. So I was checking for rev limit checks or whatever at each year. So he's got good gear, and he tries to help you out. It's hard to get hold of sometimes, but just keep ringing him. And that's about it. Tyre Power Young. They've been a long-time sponsor.
I'll throw one in there for you. JD Shocks. Jackson Jones with all these shocks for you. I know you love using the JD shocks, and he knows how to make it work. Or you
Well,
don't
he's
like?
got a good setup. Like I get a lot of the newbies get their shock packages through him. He sets them up a basic shock package, and it works. Hooked up on a slick set, and that gets them going. And then what they do from there, he doesn't care, but he knows that they can get round and be safe, and that's
Yeah.
what it's all about. People going out there and having fun.
No, mate. Thank you very much for that, and thanks for joining us. And hopefully, I don't know who we're going to have next episode 3 of Wild and Wingless, but yeah, hopefully it'll be someone as good as you. Thanks very much, buddy.
No worries. Good
See you,
night,
mate.
race fans. I had to get that in.